Today is the festival of the patron saint of Managua, Santo Domingo. All of Managua celebrates, but like Nicaraguan society, the parades are sharply divided between the rich and the poor. In Nicaragua, it is the upper-class descendants of the Spanish conquerors who control nearly all the nation's wealth. Little wonder then that these wealthy ranchers choose to celebrate their Spanish heritage. On the other side of town, Managua's less fortunate majority are holding their own parade. Nearly all the poor people on the Pacific coast are mestizo, a mixture of the Spanish colonizers and the Nicaraguan Indians they enslaved. The mestizos see their Indian ancestry as an embarrassment, since it still forms a social barrier to opportunity. On the Pacific coast, the Nica Indian, who gave its name to Nicaragua, is just a racial memory. All that is left of their Indian culture is the parody and the painted face. While the festival is a chance for the mestizos to celebrate, even here, there's no escape from the grim realities of day-to-day existence. Violence, disease and illiteracy are a way of life in post-revolutionary Nicaragua. The poorest of the poor in Managua are the campesinos, whose lands have been taken by the big agribusinesses or destroyed by environmental neglect. For many of these farmers, the only route left is to migrate to the relatively untouched Atlantic coast.
Most of our land has been devastated, and of course all the water resources have been contaminated. So some poor families, some farmers are moving to that area where we have still pristine forest, and they start trading with wood and animals too.
The sun rises on the forest of the Mosquito coast. The Atlantic side of Nicaragua is the largest and least populated part of the country. Rich in natural resources, it is the home of the last of Nicaragua's remaining indigenous people. But now, the Indians, like the forest, are in danger of disappearing. Geographically isolated from the people in the Pacific by a mountain chain, the Atlantic side has a history of English and American colonization. For centuries, the Indians and English-speaking Creoles have successfully resisted the invasion of the Spanish speakers from the Pacific. But now they are being swamped by waves of Latino migrants from the crowded Pacific side.
The rich area of the Atlantic, it's beautiful, it's nice, it has a great potential. It's not being exploited by their own people. Instead, the people are losing and losing and losing, and every time they have less and less, and every time they get poorer and poorer.
Joining me in Bluefields on the Atlantic coast is Ana Padilla. Ana is a highly regarded Nicaraguan journalist who's covered wars and revolutions in the region for the past 15 years. Even the taxi driver taking us to the wharf is a Latino. Immigrants from the Pacific coast own most of the fishing, mining and logging concessions, as well as all the small businesses. But it is the loss of their land that really threatens the Indians of the Mosquito coast. John Taylor is a local politician and Creole medicine man. He is taking us to meet the Rama Indians.
We can see clearly that the central government is mostly sending a lot of campesinos, taking over all our communal properties.
After surviving English and American colonisers, Caribbean pirates, devastating cyclones and civil wars, this island refuge is the end of the line for what was once an Indian nation.
I will read before you take out your book and you the same as number 1.
There are less than 1,000 Rama left in the world, and only 4 of them who can speak the language fluently. Among the Rama, only 8 people have jobs, and they are all teachers at the local school. The students here learn English and Spanish.
That's right.
Rama elder Avado Jones is worried that they can't do anything to stop the land grab.
Stand strong. Them no have no title, but them just only made a lot of land maybe with 5-6 hectares and then plant it in grass and be a potato for the cow them. And after them done made 5-6 hectares, then come and them look somebody who have money and say, okay, I sell you this land. Just write out a escritura paper and deliver to them. Say, I sell you. But it's not legal.
Though the government has promised them their traditional land, the actual titles have never eventuated.
The government have a voluntary for deliver the title for our land. We stand strong, like Rama we stand strong. But today, when I observe them, I work 8 years, the concejal them. Where I observe with the government today, it's just politics what it is.
All these land, Bluefields people supposed to have a right to communal land. But happened so that this region, as Bluefields had been the head department, it had always controlled by parties, you see, national political parties. And those national political parties members had really share up the majority of the land in this region.
But it's not only people from the Pacific who are sharing up the spoils. Companies from Central America, such as this heavily guarded Colombian fishing company, have managed to gain concessions. About the same time as these companies arrived, large amounts of cocaine started to wash up on the shores of the Mosquito coast, which created a new problem.
It's getting bad. It's bad in the sense that even drugs, something that until now, about 10 years ago, you start seeing it, like crack cocaine, you have pure cocaine. Well, marijuana was something kind of common, but not something widespread, but crack is taking up the youth, and it's something scary.
As night falls, the sleepy Caribbean port transforms into bars, brothels and crack dens. To venture out here, you need to come prepared.
I always carry this with me because I don't trust in the shadow of the dark. You ever heard that saying? Don't trust no shadow of the dark. This is what they call the Little Miami or the red zone.
Our guide, Greg Smith, offers to take us into the ghettos of the Creole community, where crack cocaine, another legacy of the Contra Wars, has arrived with a vengeance.
So to get something to survive to eat, you have to do some kind of things to get a little money to eat.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Boring, thieving, selling drugs, and things like that. Right? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. If you want it, you want it. And if you don't want it, you want it sooner, right? Without saying this is this thing. Right?
They saw something. You see this lady going over there? Yeah. This right there, she is a crackhead.
Crack is no respecter of class or race. Even upper-class Spaniards find themselves trapped in the web of drugs.
Let's go, come on.
Like elsewhere in the world, the loss of land, culture and livelihood for the indigenous people has wreaked havoc on the community. Down the street, boys as young as 10 are selling crack cocaine to a procession of taxis. Once we stepped off the street in Little Miami, we were in another world. Everything and everybody was selling, buying, or just badly needing.
So that's a piece of rock, right?
Yeah, that's 10 card of it.
How much does that cost?
10 card $1?
10
card is about $1.
About $1. Okay.
Him one. That's right, him alone.
Crack cocaine is cheap and addictive. With 80% of the male population on the Atlantic coast unemployed, it is nothing short of an epidemic.
I heard he put that in.
I guess I'm done.
That's done.
That's it. Right.
Okay.
We had to leave the area quickly when the crack dealers came looking for us.
It's all right.
The next day, Anna makes contact with the Yatama, an armed group of the Miskit Indians confronting the government in the Mesquite heartland on the far north coast. Sinsin is the centre for the present crisis. Immediately we arrive, heavily armed Indians emerge from the bushes. Already there have been casualties. The Sinsin clinic is a rough wooden hut without any medicines.
What have you got?
Tylenol. There are no medicines here, so maybe this might help for the pain.
Okay.
This Mesquite Indian war party consists of ex-Contras who have taken up arms again. Frustrated and angry after 8 years of broken promises, the battle-hardened Indians are demanding full autonomy for the Atlantic coast of Nicaragua.
Yawan man since Karabara sa bara apu kan yawan ba autonomia briba ari yawan ba politik tan ka brira suplika kung kan kainais ko na somos sa tem ko na sa kona sandinista baldiman tim yawan kiamara one since karadinkan one autonomy ka briba one tasbaya briba rex kananiul dupla bayang na nidawan ka sakaya.
100 metres away, the army has taken the bridge and mined the riverbanks, isolating the village.
The civil community is really afraid of what's going on because they use the river as a source of water to wash laundry, to wash themselves, and they're afraid of going to the river and getting hurt. This is really unfair. Es la única fuente de agua que tienen estas comunidades. Sí. And that's our only source of water. The river is the only source of water we have.
We decide to ask the Nicaraguan Comandante if he is laying mines, which would be in violation of the international convention to which Nicaragua is a signatory. Soldiers warned us to put away our cameras, so the confrontation with this Nicaraguan officer was filmed with a hidden camera.
Ustedes necesiten, eso la puede dar allá. No estamos nosotros autorizados para...
No podemos hacer una toma aquí.
No.
¿Pero por qué?
Pues no estamos autorizados por el teniente coronel. En todo caso, él es el que está autorizado, que es la máxima autoridad, no el teniente coronel Guatemala. Sí.
Our attempts to get interviews with the military command were also stonewalled. Perhaps they are more at home with their landmines and helicopter gunships than with media scrutiny. While trucks ferry in reinforcements for the government soldiers, Anna and I can do nothing but take the wounded Indian to the hospital in Puerto Cabeza.
No, sentate adelante. Sentate adelante, porque ahí se va a golpear.
Anna will go back to New York to file her story, placing extra pressure on the government to remove their landmines. The Indians on the Mosquito coast can see the writing on the wall. Their culture and their land are slipping away.
But we the Rama think about. We think about our children, our grandchildren, what they live. How them will live later if them not have this land.
All that is left for them is to take on their own government. They are in a fight they can neither win, nor can they afford to lose. And this time, they are truly on their own.